Dr. Maya Reyes stood at the edge of the world, where the sea met the sky, a horizon that seemed endless, yet contained the answer to the biggest question of her life. She wasn't a woman who believed in miracles, but standing on the deck of the research vessel, staring into the dark abyss below, Maya wondered if this could be the exception. Somewhere down there in the unfathomable depths of the ocean was a creature with the power to heal, to save her sister, to cure the incurable. The world was already buzzing with excitement about the discovery. News outlets reported it with glee, headlines shouting about the miracle creature that could end suffering worldwide. Governments were scrambling. Pharmaceutical giants and medical corporations were in a race to capture it, to harness its power, to profit from it. But for Maya, it was more personal than that. Her sister Elena had been slowly dying for months. An incurable illness, one that no doctor could explain, had taken hold of her, leaving her weak, frail, and unrecognizable from the vibrant woman she once was. Elena was her only family, the one constant in Maya's otherwise lonely existence. And now there was a chance, a real chance that the creature could save her. But even Maya, with all her expertise in marine biology, knew there were risks. Nothing came without a price. And if the world had learned anything, it was that greed and power could taint even the most noble of causes. As she gazed at the churning waves, a question whispered through her mind. What was the true cost of saving? A life? Maya adjusted her glasses as the screen in front of her flickered with new data, the graphs and charts scrolling at an almost alarming speed. The submersible, now more than 2 miles beneath the surface, was drawing closer to the location where the creature had been detected. The sonar pings were more frequent now, almost as if something was moving beneath them, something massive. Maya's heart quickened, the excitement of discovery tempered by the fear of the unknown. "Captain," Maya called out to the ship above them. "Are we sure this is the right location?" The voice that crackled back through the comms was steady, but there was an edge of tension in it. "Confirmed. The readings are accurate. You're right on top of it, Dr. Reyes." She took a deep breath and let the submersible descend even further, the cold of the deep water pressing in from every direction. Her hand hovered over the control panel, ready to deploy the drone. It would be their first visual confirmation of the creature's existence, and she couldn't afford to miss it. Maya's thoughts were divided. One part of her was focused entirely on the science, on the creature itself, the discovery that could change the world. But the other part, the part that ached for her sister, was consumed with one singular question. Could it save Elena? She closed her eyes for a brief moment, breathing in the sterile scent of the submersible's interior. Elena's face flashed in her mind. Her sister's long, dark hair, her bright eyes, her laughter that had once filled their tiny apartment in the city. Now, all that was left was a hollow shell, a woman who no longer resembled the sister Maya had grown up with. Every day, Maya watched as the light in her sister's eyes dimmed. She had tried everything, the best doctors, the most promising treatments, every experimental drug she could find, but nothing worked. Nothing was strong enough, until now. A soft ping echoed from the sonar, bringing Maya back to the present. "Captain, the drone is ready. I'll send it out now," she said, her voice steady despite the tumultuous thoughts in her mind. She pressed the button, and within seconds, the small, remote-controlled drone shot into the water, its bright lights, illuminating the vast, pitch-black ocean. The screen filled with the eerie, almost otherworldly images of the ocean's deepest trenches. Strange fish swam past, their bodies glowing faintly in the cold blue darkness. But Maya wasn't looking for fish. She was looking for something far more elusive and far more important. Minutes passed. The drone's camera zoomed in on rock. Formations, strange coral structures, and the eerie, ghostly movements of the deep. And then, there it was. At first, it was just a shimmer, a distortion in the water. Then, as the drone's light hit it, Maya saw it. Its glowing, undulating form, larger than any creature she had ever studied. It was like nothing she had ever seen. Its body shimmered with a faint blue light, its translucent skin rippling in the water as if it were a part of the very ocean itself. Long, flowing tendrils wrapped around a massive stone formation, seemingly part of the ocean floor. But even from this distance, Maya could feel the power emanating from it. The creature wasn't just beautiful, it was mesmerizing. It had an ethereal quality, as though it existed on the cusp of reality and something beyond it. But then came the unsettling realization. This creature was not like anything else on Earth. It was ancient. It was old, older than humanity itself. And as Maya would soon learn, it had a purpose that reached far beyond her understanding. "Is that it?" the captain's voice asked through the comms, filled with awe. "The creature?" Maya didn't answer at first. She was too stunned by the sight. It was real. It was really real. Her fingers trembled as she tapped into the control panel. "Yes," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's it." The creature slowly unfurled one of its long tendrils, almost as if it were acknowledging the presence of the submersible. The light from the drone flickered, and for a moment the entire screen turned to static. The creature's glow intensified, as if responding to the disturbance in the water, and then, just as quickly, the signal returned. But this time, something was different. The creature was moving toward the drone at an alarming speed. Maya's breath caught in her throat. "Get out of there now!" she shouted, but before she could do anything, the screen went black. The creature had vanished into the depths. Her heart pounded in her chest. Had they lost it? Had it somehow sensed their presence and disappeared? Maya gritted her teeth, fighting the frustration threatening to overwhelm her. But deep down, she knew one thing. They had found it. They had found the miracle. The next step was to figure out how to capture it and how to use its power to save her sister. As the submersible began its ascent, Maya couldn't help but wonder, what was the true cost of healing? The discovery of the creature spread like wildfire. It wasn't long before news outlets were filled with footage from the research vessel showcasing the strange, glowing being from the ocean's depths. Maya's face had appeared on countless interviews, with reporters asking her the same questions over and over. What was the creature? Where did it come from? What could it do? At first, Maya had been thrilled to be part of something so monumental. She'd spent her life studying marine life, dedicating years to understanding the delicate ecosystems beneath the waves. To be at the forefront of such a groundbreaking discovery was the culmination of her entire career. But as the days passed, the excitement began to feel like a pressure she could barely withstand. The creature's healing abilities were undeniable. Early tests confirmed that the slime-like substance it secreted had miraculous properties, accelerating the healing of tissue, reversing the effects of certain illnesses, and even curing diseases thought to be incurable. Word spread, and with it the world's hopes. But with hope came greed. The first offer came from a small pharmaceutical company in Switzerland. Then, a week later, the offers started pouring in. Oil tycoons, biotech firms, military contractors, all clamoring to secure access to the creature. Governments were no better. The US sent naval ships to secure the area, while China offered a multi-billion-dollar contract to any scientist who could bring back a specimen alive. Maya had been invited to several high-level meetings in the following weeks, all of them centered around the creature. Each meeting was more cutthroat than the last. It wasn't just about science anymore, it was about control. Who would own the creature? Who would profit from its miraculous power? Dr. Reyes. A voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. She looked up to find her colleague, Dr. Liam Hart, standing in the doorway of her office on the research vessel, his brow furrowed in concern. "You're not sleeping, are you?" Liam asked, his voice gentle but filled with concern. He was one of the few people Maya had come to trust over the years. They had worked together on deep-sea research projects before, and Maya knew he was just as passionate about the ocean as she was. Maya shook her head, rubbing her eyes. "I haven't slept in days. Too much to think about." Liam stepped into the room and sat across from her. "I get it. This whole thing is a mess, but you can't let it consume you. The creature, its powers, they're going to change everything. But you can't lose yourself in the politics of it all." "I'm not losing myself," Maya said, her voice tight, "but I'm losing control over what happens next. This isn't about science anymore. It's about money, power, and worst of all, it's about using the creature like a commodity." Liam leaned forward, his voice lowered. "I know. The offers are coming fast and we're getting pulled in every direction. But Maya, you have to remember what we're here for. We're here for the creature, not the corporations, not the governments. We're here to understand it." Maya stared at the stack of papers on her desk. Research reports, media coverage, and contracts. Every page screamed at her, demanding her attention. But there was only one thing on her mind: her sister. Eleanor's condition had worsened in the last week. She was too weak to leave the hospital, her once vibrant body now frail and unrecognizable. The doctors had given up hope. Elena had always been her anchor, the one person who grounded Maya when the world seemed too big, too chaotic. Now, with the creature's healing power so close within reach, Maya couldn't help but wonder if this was her last chance to save Elena. Liam's voice pulled her from her spiraling thoughts. "You need to take a step back, Maya. This isn't going to end well if we let it get out of hand." "I know," she whispered, looking out the window at the vast expanse of ocean that stretched endlessly before her. "But I don't have time to wait. Elena needs this creature, and I need to know that we're doing the right thing. A week later, the ship was anchored in the heart of the ocean, a small but powerful research vessel that had been tasked with monitoring the creature's movements and maintaining communication with the outside world. The crew had been reduced to a skeleton team of scientists, engineers, and military personnel. Everyone knew the stakes were higher now. They had found the creature, but they hadn't been able to bring it to the surface. The deep-water habitat it had claimed as its own was too treacherous, and the creature had proven to be elusive, disappearing every time the team thought they were close. Maya walked to the deck of the ship, where a small group of military officers stood, their eyes fixed on the horizon. They had come from a nearby naval base after reports that another research vessel had gotten too close to the creature's territory and had suffered unexpected losses. There had been rumors of ships going missing, of strange disturbances in the water, but no one could explain it. "Dr. Reyes," said Commander Fletcher, the lead officer on board, "we've received orders to intensify the search for the creature. We're bringing in additional support." Maya nodded, her mind racing. "More military personnel? This is turning into a war, Fletcher." "We're not here to fight a war," Fletcher said, his voice hard. "We're here to secure the creature. You know what's at stake, Dr. Reyes. This thing could cure every disease in the world. It could save millions of lives. We can't afford to lose it." "I know," Maya said quietly, feeling the weight of the decision settle deep in her chest. She had always believed in the importance of protecting the ocean, of preserving its ecosystems. But the promise of saving her sister was overwhelming. If the creature could truly cure the incurable, then Maya couldn't afford to let it slip through her fingers. But even as she thought this, a sinking feeling in her stomach reminded her of the warnings. What would happen if the creature was taken from its home? What if its powers came at a greater cost than anyone could predict? "Maya, Liam said, walking up behind her. "We have to be careful. The creature's not just some miracle. It's part of something much bigger, something we don't fully understand. If we take it, we might be destroying something irreplaceable." Maya turned to him, her face a mixture of frustration and fear. "I don't have a choice anymore, Liam. I can't lose Elena, and I can't let the world miss out on the chance to end suffering. We have to move forward." Liam sighed, a shadow of doubt crossing his face. "Just promise me you'll think about the bigger picture. Think about what we're really doing." But Maya was already lost in her thoughts, her mind consumed with the image of her sister, lying in a hospital bed, fading away with every passing day. The creature held the key to everything. The key. Days had turned into weeks. Maya had tried to keep her focus, but it was becoming harder to separate her emotions from the objective reality of the situation. The world was still buzzing with excitement, but for Maya, the hunt for the creature was no longer about discovery or science. It was about Elena. The creature's elusive nature made it the perfect prize for anyone who wanted a piece of its healing power. The ship's sensors had been fine-tuned, its technology pushed to its limits, but despite all their efforts, the creature seemed to be slipping through their fingers, disappearing into the deep, unreachable darkness every time they thought they were close. Maya was beginning to wonder if it wasn't just trying to avoid them, if it was actively resisting the idea of being captured. The morning after the meeting with Commander Fletcher, Maya found herself sitting alone on the ship's deck, the cool ocean breeze ruffling her hair. The sky above was a soft grey, and the sound of the waves crashing against the hull was the only thing that kept her anchored to the present. She had a call scheduled with Elena's doctors in an hour, and her heart twisted every time she thought about what the conversation would be like. Every day that passed felt like one more step toward losing her sister. Elena's condition was worsening rapidly, the disease consuming her from the inside out. She hadn't been able to speak in days, her once bright eyes clouded with confusion and pain. "Maya?" She turned to find Liam approaching, his face shadowed with concern. He was wearing his usual attire, weathered jeans and a simple t-shirt, though the long days of the hunt had begun to take their toll on him too. The constant pressure of working alongside military personnel, the corporate offers, the stress of the scientific team, it had all worn them down. "Hey," Maya said, offering him a small, weary smile. "I thought you'd be inside. We've got another set of sonar readings coming in." Liam shook his head and dropped onto the chair next to her. "I've seen enough sonar readings to last a lifetime." He paused, glancing at the horizon. "You okay?" Maya hesitated before answering. "I don't know anymore. Every day, the world is getting closer to tearing the creature away from its home, and I'm no better than they are." She ran a hand through her hair, frustration evident in her voice. "I'm supposed to be the one protecting it, Liam, but I'm just as caught up in this as everyone else." "You're not the same as them," Liam said quietly. "You know what's at stake. You know the balance that needs to be kept." "But do I?" Maya's voice broke, the guilt threatening to swallow her whole. "I know the creature can cure diseases. I know it can save lives. But what if we're making things worse? What if we take it from the ocean and it's the last thing we ever do?" Liam didn't say anything at first, letting the silence hang between them. The truth was, he shared her doubts. He'd been with her from the beginning, studying the creature's habitat, watching it from a distance, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the entire situation. "We don't know what it's doing down there, Maya," he said after a long pause. "We don't understand the full extent of its powers. What if taking it causes the oceans to collapse? What if we destroy the very thing that's keeping the balance of life intact?" Maya was silent for a long moment. "I have to believe that there's a way to save both my sister and the world. There has to be." Liam studied her carefully. "If there's a way, we need to find it soon." I don't know how much longer we can keep pretending this isn't a race against time." Later that day, Maya stood in front of the research team's main terminal, the weight of the decision pressing on her chest. The creature had shown itself again, just for a moment. The sonar had picked up a significant disturbance, and Maya had insisted they follow it. It was a gamble, but it was their best chance yet. She stared at the glowing screen in front of her, watching the blinking coordinates shift rapidly as the submersible began its descent once more. The crew was anxious, tension thick in the air. Maya had made it clear that they needed to move fast, but even as they prepared, a gnawing doubt settled deep in her gut. "This is it," said Dr. Andrew Wells, one of the senior scientists on the team. His voice was almost reverent as he watched the data stream in. "We've never been this close before," Maya nodded, though she could barely focus on his words. The thought of Elena still lingered in her mind. The last phone call with her sister's doctors had not been promising. They were no longer talking about treatment options. They were talking about palliative care. "Get ready," she said, turning to the captain, who was overseeing the submersible's operation. "Deploy the drone the moment we've got visual confirmation. I want to see it for myself." The captain gave a quick nod, but there was a nervous energy to his movements. Maya had been pushing the team harder than ever, demanding results. It was as if she couldn't afford to slow down. She couldn't afford to think about the risks. The pressure of saving her sister was drowning out every other consideration. Minutes passed. The tension was palpable. The deep sea submersible was the team's best hope for locating the creature, but its limits were becoming apparent. As it sank deeper into the abyss, the water grew colder, and the light from the vessel's searchlights seemed to evaporate into the darkness. And then, there, it was, a glow in the distance. At first, it was faint, almost like a mirage, but as the submersible continued its descent, the glow grew brighter. And then, in a stunning display of otherworldly beauty, the creature appeared. It was enormous, so large that it almost seemed to take up the entire screen. Its body pulsed with a soft blue light, and its tendrils extended outward, reaching toward the submersible. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She could see it now, clear as day. Its skin shimmered in the water, translucent yet iridescent. It was a thing of unmatched beauty, untouched by human hands, untouched by the world above. "We have it!" The captain's voice broke through, a mixture of awe and excitement. "We've found it! The creature is real!" But for Maya, the joy was fleeting. She couldn't help but feel a deep, unsettling sense of dread. The creature's power was undeniable, but it was also fragile, and every second they spent in its presence felt like an intrusion. "What's it doing?" Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The creature had stopped moving now, its tendrils floating in the water like ribbons. It seemed almost still. And then, as if in response to their presence, a strange sound reverberated through the submersible. A low, mournful hum, like the ocean itself was singing a warning. "Get us out of here," Maya said, her voice shaking. "Now." The captain hesitated. "We don't have enough data yet. We need more time." But Maya wasn't listening. The storm of doubt that had been growing inside her now erupted in full force. They had to get out before it was too late. The submersible shot back to the surface, its engines straining against the deep waters as the crew worked in frantic silence. Maya's eyes were fixed on the screen, her heart pounding as the image of the creature lingered in her mind. It was beautiful, too beautiful, yet there was something profoundly unsettling about it. A cold knot had settled in her chest, gnawing at her thoughts, but she pushed it down. There was no time for doubt, no time for hesitation. The creature was still out there, and her sister's condition was worsening by the hour. The helicopter that had arrived from the mainland was waiting on deck, ready to whisk her away to the nearest hospital as soon as the ship docked. She had arranged everything in advance, each moment of the day now dictated by the urgency to save Elena. Maya. Liam's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. He was standing in the doorway to the control room, his face pale and tense. "You need to see this," he said, his voice low and grim. "It's not what we thought." Maya stood abruptly, the urgency in her movements betraying her mounting sense of unease. The last thing she wanted was to deal with complications, but something in Liam's voice told her this wasn't just a minor issue. She followed him down the narrow hallway of the research vessel and into the main data room, where the monitors were lit up with fresh readings from the submersible. "What's going on?" Maya asked, her voice tight. Liam motioned to the screen. "The creature's movement patterns are erratic. We've never seen anything like this before, but that's not the worst of it." Maya stared at the data, her mind racing. The creature's movements didn't make sense. There were sudden shifts, rapid changes in direction, as if it were reacting to something external. But that wasn't the most alarming part. The most alarming part was what they'd discovered in the latest scans. "It's not just a healer, Maya," Liam said, his voice filled with a quiet awe and fear. "This creature is a life force. Its very existence is connected to the health of the entire ocean. We've been misreading it." Maya's heart sank. "What do you mean?" Liam's eyes met hers, filled with a kind of resigned horror. "The creature's powers, it's not just curing diseases, it's maintaining the balance of the ocean's ecosystems. The energy it releases into the water is keeping the entire environment stable. If we take it from here, it's going to set off a chain reaction." Maya didn't understand at first. She couldn't. The idea was too foreign, too complex. But the data on the screen was clear. The creature wasn't merely healing in the way they had thought. It was actively sustaining life beneath the waves, ensuring that the ocean's ecosystems functioned in harmony. The currents, the temperatures, the biodiversity, they all rely on this creature's presence, Liam continued. If we remove it from the ocean, it could trigger a collapse, a cascade of environmental disasters. Entire species could die off. The oceans could destabilize. Maya stared at him, trying to make sense of it all. "But we've already found it. We've already tracked it. We've seen it heal. It can save Elena. It can save so many people." "I know," Liam said softly, his voice filled with empathy. "But this changes everything. The creature is not just a source of power. It is the lifeblood of the ocean. If we take it, we risk more than just the ocean's health. We risk the entire planet. Its healing power is tied to the health of the seas. If we remove it, if we take it from its home, we could very well be setting the stage for an irreversible collapse of our ecosystems." Maya's chest tightened. The weight of his words pressed down on her, and she felt as though the walls were closing in. The impossible choice she had feared was now right in front of her. If she took the creature, if she used its power to heal Elena, she could save her sister. She could give her a chance at life and, by extension, a future. But she also knew that doing so would condemn the very planet that had given her everything. "Is there any way we can keep it here and still use its power?" Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She was clutching at straws, desperate for a solution, any solution. Liam shook his head. "I don't think so. The creature is tied to the ocean. If we take it, even temporarily, it will affect the balance of the currents, the marine life. It's not just a healer, it's a fundamental part of the ecosystem. If we try to move it, we risk everything." Maya's mind was reeling. She thought of Elena, her sister, her only family, lying in a hospital bed, barely holding on. Elena's once strong and vibrant spirit was slipping away with each passing day. Maya had promised her that she would fight. that she would never give up. And now, she was faced with a choice that could destroy the future. "Tell me what I'm supposed to do, Liam," Maya said, her voice cracking. "Tell me how I'm supposed to make a decision like this." Liam didn't answer right away. He simply placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression one of deep sadness and understanding. "You know what's right, Maya. You've always known." The door to the control room opened suddenly, and Commander Fletcher stepped in, his expression grim. "Dr. Reyes," he said, his voice urgent, "we have a problem. The military's getting impatient. They're ready to move on the creature. We can't delay much longer." Maya blinked, the sudden shift in focus pulling her back to reality. "I don't care about the military right now, Fletcher," she snapped. "I'm dealing with something much bigger than your operation. The creature is part of the ocean's ecosystem. If we take it, we risk destroying the very thing we're trying to save." Fletcher's eyes narrowed. "That's not my problem, Dr. Reyes. My orders are clear. We're securing the creature alive and bringing it to the surface. If you can't make that happen, we'll handle it ourselves." Maya's breath caught in her throat. She knew the military had the means to capture the creature if they had to. And once it was in their hands, it would be a matter of time before they started using it for their own ends, healing the rich and the powerful, monopolizing the cure, all while the planet's ecosystems began to collapse. "I can't let that happen," Maya said, more to herself than to anyone else. "I can't let this creature be exploited." Liam's voice was quiet but firm. "Then we have to stop them, we have to protect it, and we have to do it now." As the ship began to power up for the next mission, Maya stood on the deck, her thoughts swirling. She could hear the hum of the engines beneath her feet, the faint chatter of the military personnel on the upper levels, but all she could focus on was the creature, her sister, and the agonizing choice ahead. In the distance, she could see the military helicopters approaching. She knew it was only a matter of time before the operation would begin in full force. They were coming for the creature, and once they had it, everything would change. But even as she thought of her sister, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was facing something far bigger than just the life of one person. This was the fate of the entire planet, of the oceans, of the future. And in the end, it was up to Maya to decide whether saving Elena was worth the cost of destroying the world. She felt the weight of the storm that was coming, both within her and outside the ship. The creature's glowing light flickered in her mind, and for the first time, she wasn't sure if saving her sister was the right thing to do. Maya's mind was reeling. She thought of Elena, her sister, her only family, lying in a hospital bed, barely holding on. Elena's once strong and vibrant spirit was slipping away with each passing day. Maya had promised her that she would fight, that she would never give up, and now she was faced with a choice that could destroy the future. "Tell me what I'm supposed to do, Liam," Maya said, her voice cracking. "Tell me how I'm supposed to make a decision like this." Liam didn't answer right away. He simply placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression one of deep sadness and understanding. "You know what's right, Maya. You've always known." The door to the control room opened suddenly, and Commander Fletcher stepped in, his expression grim. "Dr. Reyes," he said, his voice urgent, "we have a problem. The military's getting impatient. They're ready to move on the creature. We can't delay much longer." Maya blinked, the sudden shift in focus pulling her back to reality. "I don't care about the military right now, Fletcher," she snapped. "I'm dealing with something much bigger than your operation. The creature is part of the ocean's ecosystem. If we take it, we risk destroying the very thing we're trying to save." Fletcher's eyes narrowed. "That's not my problem, Dr. Reyes. My orders are clear. We're securing the creature, alive, and bringing it to the surface. If you can't make that happen, we'll handle it ourselves." Maya's breath caught in her throat. She knew the military had the means to capture the creature if they had to. and once it was in their hands, it would be a matter of time before they started using it for their own ends, healing the rich and the powerful, monopolizing the cure, all while the planet's ecosystems began to collapse. "I can't let that happen," Maya said, more to herself than to anyone else. "I can't let this creature be exploited." Liam's voice was quiet but firm. "Then we have to stop them, we have to protect it, and we have to do it now." A sudden realization as the ship began to power up for the next mission. Maya stood on the deck, her thoughts swirling. She could hear the hum of the engines beneath her feet, the faint chatter of the military personnel on the upper levels, but all she could focus on was the creature, her sister, and the agonizing choice ahead. The distance, she could see the military helicopters approaching. She knew it was only a matter of time before the operation would begin in full force. They were coming for the creature, and once they had it, everything would change. But even as she thought of her sister, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was facing something far bigger than just the life of one person. This was the fate of the entire planet, of the oceans, of the future. And in the end, it was up to Maya to decide whether saving Elena was worth the cost of destroying the world. She felt the weight of the storm that was coming, both within her and outside the ship. The creature's glowing light flickered in her mind, and for the first time, she wasn't sure if saving her sister was the right thing to do. By the time Maya reached the command deck, the situation had escalated dramatically. Military personnel were everywhere, moving with urgency as they prepared for the operation to secure the creature. The helicopter blades were already whipping the air, and more vessels had arrived to assist in the mission. The clock was ticking. "Commander." Fletcher was speaking with one of the officers, but when Maya stepped onto the deck, all conversation stopped. The tension in the air was thick, the kind of tension that signaled a line was about to be crossed, one that could never be undone. "Maya," Fletcher said, his voice sharp, "we've got a plan in place. The submersible's ready to deploy, and we're going to secure the creature alive. The medical team's on standby. Once we have it, we can begin using its healing properties to treat the diseases we've been discussing." Maya swallowed, her throat tight. This was it, the moment she had feared. The creature was close and the military was ready to make their move. But in that moment, something shifted inside her. She couldn't let this happen. Not like this. She couldn't let them capture the creature and turn it into a tool for profit. "We can't do this," Maya said, her voice steady but resolute. "You don't understand. You can't take it from its home. The balance of the entire ecosystem is at stake. If you capture it, you'll destroy the ocean." Fletcher's eyes narrowed, his jaw tight. "Dr. Reyes, I've already told you. We have our orders. The creature's healing abilities could save millions of lives. The military's backing this operation. We need to secure it now. There's no time for second thoughts." "I'm not second-guessing anything," Maya snapped, stepping forward. "You don't get it. The creature is more than just a healer. It's the heart of the ocean. If you take it, you'll destroy everything we rely on. The food chains, the currents, the climate, it will all collapse. You think you're saving lives, but you'll be condemning the planet." The officers exchanged glances, their skepticism clear. Maya could feel the pressure mounting, and she knew she had to act fast. She couldn't let the military take control of the situation. If she was going to save both Elena and the creature, it had to be now. "Maya, please," Liam said, walking up behind her. "But we need to try to reach the creature before it's too late. There might be a way to negotiate with it, to find a solution that doesn't involve taking it from its home." Maya's mind raced. Could she really reach out to the creature? Could she somehow communicate with it? And what if it didn't want to be saved? What if it didn't want to be taken from its home? There was no time to waste. The submersible was already being lowered into the water, and the military was moving into position. The creature was near. "Maya," Fletcher said again, this time more forcefully, "we're going. Whether you come or not is up to you, but this operation is happening." Maya's heart pounded. She had to make a choice. A part of her wanted to go with them, to use the creature's powers to save Elena. Another part wanted to stop them, to try and preserve the fragile balance of the world. But what if this was her only chance to speak to the creature? What if it could help her? Taking a deep breath, Maya turned to Liam. "I'm going with them." Liam's eyes widened in shock. "Maya, no." "I have to try," she said, cutting him off. "I have to try to communicate with it. I can't let them destroy everything." The submersible descended into the ocean once more, Maya inside, her heart racing. The creature's location was just below them. The military had no idea what they were about to encounter, but Maya had an idea. This could be their last chance to make things right. As the submersible reached the depths where the creature had been spotted, Maya felt the pressure of the moment bear down on her. The creature was close now. She could feel it in the water, a strange energy that pulsed around her. "Release the drone," she said, her voice steady. The drone, a smaller vehicle designed to capture footage and data, was deployed from the submersible's belly. Maya needed a visual confirmation of the creature before she could make her move. Seconds passed. Then, as the drone illuminated the depths with its powerful lights, Maya saw it. The creature. It was massive, far larger than she had expected. Its body glowing with an ethereal light that rippled through the water like a living aurora. It was as beautiful as it was terrifying. Its tendrils swayed with the currents, and its eyes, if you could call them eyes, seemed to glow with an intelligence that Maya could not ignore. "Maya, we've got it," the officer said, his voice thick with awe. "It's right there." But Maya wasn't listening. She was already reaching for the communications device, her hands trembling. She had to try. There had to be a way. "Creature," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the submersible's engines. "Please, I need your help. We can save lives, but we can't destroy everything to do it. Help us, please." The creature's glowing eyes seemed to respond, its tendrils shifting slightly. The moment stretched on forever. The submersible's lights flickered as it descended further into the abyss. Maya's heartbeat pounded in her ears as she stared through the thick, reinforced glass at the creature below. The ocean was dark, the pressure immense, but there was an undeniable force radiating from the creature. It was as though the very sea itself was alive, and the creature at its center held the pulse of the planet in its glowing, otherworldly presence. Maya didn't know if it could understand her, but she couldn't wait any longer. Her sister was slipping away, the military was closing in, and here, in the depths of the ocean, Maya was making her last attempt, her last plea for salvation. She pressed the microphone close to her lips, trying to steady her breath. "Please," Maya whispered, her voice trembling in the cold metallic cabin. "I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to take you from your home, but I need your help. My sister is dying, and I don't know how to save her without you." The creature's tendrils twitched in the water, and for a moment, Maya thought she saw something. An acknowledgement, maybe? She wasn't sure. Her mind raced as she waited, hoping for some sign that it could hear her. The glow from its body pulsed softly, like a heartbeat, steady and rhythmic. But there was no answer, just the silence of the deep. "Maya," Liam's voice crackled through the comms. "You've got to be careful. The military's on their way. You need to get out of there. We don't have much time." Maya's grip tightened on the control panel. The pressure was unbearable now, not just from the physical weight of the ocean, but from the moral weight of her choices. If she made the wrong decision now, she could destroy everything, the ocean, the creature, the delicate ecosystem. But if she left without trying, if she didn't push forward, her sister would die. She glanced at the monitor again, watching as the creature's form shifted gracefully in the water. It was almost as if it was waiting for something, like it could sense her presence in a way that went beyond words. "Please," Maya said again, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know you're not just a healer. You're something more, something that keeps everything in balance. I don't want to destroy that, but I need your help. Please, I'm begging you." The creature's tendrils slowed, then stopped altogether. For a moment, Maya thought it might be retreating, preparing to flee from her. But then, something extraordinary happened. The water around the creature began to shift in a way that Maya had never seen before. It wasn't just the natural current. This was different. The water seemed to hum with energy, vibrating in a way that felt almost alive. It was as though the creature was communicating, not through words, but through the water itself. Maya could feel it, an undeniable pull, a force that resonated. Deep within her, the submersible's lights flickered, and the screen blinked as the connection to the surface was lost. The submersible jerked violently, as if caught in an invisible force, and Maya's breath caught in her throat. The deep, echoing hum intensified. For a moment, the creature's glow grew brighter, filling the small cabin with an eerie, ethereal light. And then, Maya saw it. A pattern, a series of images flickering like a vision. It was a memory, or perhaps a vision of the future. The water around the creature surged in a swirling vortex, and within it, Maya could see destruction. Entire ecosystems collapsing. The ocean's balance shattered, as though the very fabric of nature was being torn apart. The seas turned black, the corals withered, the fish gasped for air, and the waters themselves began to die. Maya gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. This wasn't just the future of the ocean, this was the future of the earth. She saw images of the planet, the great oceans that covered it, the air that breathed life into every living thing. And in every image, the creature was at the center of it all. Its power was not just a healing force, it was the very lifeblood of the planet. Without it, everything would die. It was as if the creature itself was the guardian of the Earth's equilibrium, and taking it would be nothing short of a global catastrophe. "Maya," Liam's voice returned, but it was distant, faint. "You need to get out of there. The military's coming. It's too dangerous." Maya didn't respond. She couldn't. She was frozen, staring at the screen in disbelief as the vision continued to unfold. The creature was showing her the destruction, but it was also offering something, a choice perhaps, or a warning. Its glow had shifted, the pulsing light slowing, as if to signify that it was ready to communicate with her, to make a decision. The message was clear. It was not just a healer. It was the balance of life itself. As Maya struggled to comprehend what she had just seen, the submersible jolted again. The sudden shift in motion brought her back to reality. She grabbed the controls, desperately trying to regain stability. The lights flickered once more, and then suddenly the comms came to life again. "Maya, get out of there, now!" Fletcher's voice was sharp, filled with authority and urgency. "We're not waiting any longer. We're going in." Maya's heart sank. The military was closing in. The creature, this force of nature, was being encroached upon by people who saw it as nothing more than a tool, a weapon to be exploited. But what if it wasn't just a tool? What if it was something far more significant? Her fingers trembled over the controls. What was she supposed to do? The creature had shown her the destruction that would follow if it was removed from its natural habitat. And yet, the military was coming, and Elena was dying. She had to make a decision. The submersible lurched again, this time with a sharp twist. Maya's hands shot out instinctively, trying to steady herself. The creature was reacting. Its energy was escalating, radiating out in shockwaves that were affecting the very waters around them. The ocean's balance was in jeopardy, just as the creature had shown her. The damage was already beginning. "Maya, listen to me." Liam's voice was panicked now, full of dread. "If you stay down there, you're going to lose everything. Your sister, the creature, everything. You have to come back up now." But Maya couldn't. She knew what was happening. She knew what the creature was offering. It wasn't just the future of the oceans at stake. It was the future of life itself. Without this being, the entire planet would collapse. Unable to sustain itself, the military's submersibles were almost there. Fletcher's voice was relentless now. "We're getting close, Dr. Reyes. Stand down and return to the surface. Now!" Maya's pulse thundered in her ears as she stared at the screen. The military's presence was imminent. The creature's light flickered again, this time almost in sync with Maya's heartbeat. Then, there it was. A message, not in words, but in a deep, resonating hum. It wasn't speaking to her. It was showing her the world, showing her the truth of what would happen if the creature was taken. The destruction would begin immediately. It would spread across the planet like a virus, infecting every ecosystem, every species, and there would be no cure. The oceans would collapse, the land would dry up, the skies would darken. She understood now. This wasn't just about healing. This was about survival. Maya's hand hovered over the controls. She looked at the glowing creature, the embodiment of life itself, and she understood what it was asking. She had one choice: to save her sister and risk the planet's destruction, or to let go of her personal attachment and protect the creature, ensuring the Earth's balance remained intact. Her fingers trembled as she slowly, painfully reached for the comm switch. "Fletcher," she said, her voice cold and steady. "I'm not coming back. You'll have to take the creature by force if you want it, but I won't be part of it." She didn't wait for a response. She disconnected the comms, cutting off all communication with the surface. The decision had been made. The sea had transformed into a roiling, violent mess of waves, churning and crashing, as if the very planet itself was reacting to what Maya had done. The submersible, once a calm vessel in the depths of the ocean, now felt like a fragile bubble in a storm. The pressure of the water was suffocating, and Maya could barely think straight. She stared out at the creature, whose ethereal glow was fading with the rising chaos. The storm, summoned by its power, had begun in earnest. The military's submersibles were still closing in, their lights like small, frantic beacons against the dark waters. Fletcher's voice crackled faintly through the comms, but Maya ignored it, her eyes locked on the creature's undulating form. She had cut off the connection. There was no turning back now. Her thoughts flickered to Elena. Her sister's condition was worsening, her time running out. But Maya had made her choice. The creature was the last key to maintaining the balance of life on Earth, and she could not allow it to be taken. Not for her sister, not for anyone. The storm above the surface was unlike anything Maya had ever seen. Waves rose to monstrous heights, lightning slashed across the sky, and thunder rumbled like the Earth itself was protesting. She could feel the power in the air, the electricity that surged from the creature's very being. It was as though the creature was channeling the wrath of the ocean, trying to warn her, to warn them all. "Maya, what are you doing?" Fletcher's voice came through again, this time more insistent. "Get to the surface, now!" The storm, this isn't just a coincidence. But Maya didn't respond. She could feel it now, the creature's energy intertwining with the storm. The ocean itself seemed to speak, a warning that reached deep into her bones. This was the balance being disturbed. The creature was the heartbeat of the Earth, and if they tried to take it, they would destroy the very thing they were trying to save. The submersible rocked violently, and Maya held on tightly to the controls. The storm above seemed to reach down into the depths, its winds howling and its fury shaking the ocean's very core. The creature had triggered something Maya could barely comprehend. But then, amidst the chaos, Maya felt it. A connection, a calm, She reached out, not physically but with her mind, extending her presence to the creature below, and this time she felt it respond, not in a violent, forceful way, but in a subtle, peaceful way, as if it understood her. The storm's fury didn't subside, but the pressure on Maya's chest eased. The creature was reaching back, communicating in its own way. The balance was not a force to be controlled, it was a force to be understood. And Maya finally understood. Maya, the creature's power. Liam's voice broke through again, this time not in panic, but in awe. It's not just about healing, it's about balance, the healing, the storms, the energy. It all ties together. Her eyes were locked on the glowing form of the creature below, and she knew now that no matter how much she wanted to save Elena, the world itself could not survive without the creature's influence. If it was taken from the ocean, it would be like ripping the heart out of the earth. Everything would wither, decay, and die. The oceans would collapse, the land would turn to desert, the skies would darken. There would be no cure for that kind of devastation. The creature wasn't just healing, it was restoring the planet. Every living thing on Earth was connected to it in ways Maya hadn't understood until now. And as the storm intensified above, she knew the creature's survival wasn't a matter of science anymore. It was a matter of life itself. Maya, Liam said again, softer this time, like he understood. You've made the right choice. The storm above them raged on, but down in the depths the submersible steadied. Maya's grip on the controls loosened, and for the first time in weeks, she exhaled. Her decision had been made, not just for her sister, but for everyone. She could only hope that Elena would find peace, somehow, somewhere. Maya, listen to me. Fletcher's voice came again, filled with frustration and finality. We're coming for it. You're going to have to stop us. Maya's eyes flitted, from the storm above to the creature below. Its light flickered again, and for the briefest moment it looked up at her, its ancient eyes meeting hers. It was a recognition, a mutual understanding. I can't save both, Maya whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. But I can save the future. And with that, Maya turned off the comms for the last time. As the storm raged above, the military's submersibles were forced to retreat. Their mission was compromised, not by Maya, but by the forces of nature itself. The creature had proven to be more powerful than anyone had anticipated. It was not just a healing force. It was a guardian of the Earth. And in the face of its power, humanity had no choice but to pull back. On the surface, the storm reached its peak, but as quickly as it had come, it began to subside. The waves slowly calmed, the winds died down, and the light of the creature, though faint, still glowed beneath the ocean's surface. It wasn't gone. It hadn't been taken. It was still there, its energy flowing like the pulse of the earth. Maya floated in the submersible, her mind a whirl of emotions. The storm had passed, the creature had been spared, the planet would survive, but the cost was high. Her sister was still out there, and Eleanor would never have the life she deserved. Weeks passed after the storm, and the world began to rebuild itself. Maya remained in the ocean's depths, keeping watch over the creature. The military had pulled back, the corporations had retreated, and the scientific community was forced to reevaluate everything they thought they knew. Maya's work became a quiet, personal mission. She had saved the Earth, but at a great cost. Her sister's body had finally succumbed to the disease. Elena had died in her arms, but Maya found some comfort in the fact that the creature's healing powers had never been meant for humanity alone. They were meant for the planet, and the planet needed them more than any one person. The world was forever changed. But in Maya's heart, there was a peace, a quiet understanding that she had made the right choice. And somewhere, deep in the Ocean, the creature continued to pulse, its light still glowing, its life force still intertwined with the planet. It was a guardian, not just of the oceans, but of life itself. Maya, for all the pain she carried, knew that the future had been saved, and in that she found a kind of solace.